Recently, Putin has often been accused of wanting to recreate the Union of Soviet Socialist States within new borders. Having considered this issue carefully, and in the light of recent events, it can be understood that everything is coming to this. That is, the prerequisites for the creation of the USSR 2.0 really exist. There is one wonderful Chinese proverb, proven for thousands of years. Back in the period of the Three Kingdoms in China, 1,750 years ago, the famous Chinese author Luo Gangjun wrote in his treatise, "After a long period of unity, the empire disintegrates, and after a long period of disunity, it is rebuilt." This saying is true for all empires. For example, Europe was also, in a certain sense, either united or disintegrated into separate states, even into a duchy or principality. For example, it was united during the Roman Empire. Then it broke up into small countries. And now it is reunited again as the European Union. The same can be said about the Russian Empire. During the Russian Empire, the Baltic countries, right bank Ukraine, Belarus, Finland, Transcaucasia, Kazakhstan, and Central Asia was part of it. And in the USSR time, there were socialist republics of Azerbaijan, Armenia, Belarus, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldavia, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Ukraine, Estonia. After the defeat in the Cold War in 1991, the USSR broke up into various independent republics. But 30 years have passed since this event, and the geopolitical alignment of forces in the world is beginning to change. Russia and China increasingly see themselves as independent poles of power in the world, and the world is gradually rolling into an era of great power competition, or as it is also called, expansive autocracies. And Russia is the most vulnerable side in this world, because Russia's security depends on its territories. Without Central Asia and Ukraine, he has no chance of playing the role of empires. Zbigniew Brzezinski himself wrote about this in his book The Great Chess Game. Today we can already see which countries may be part of the future empire. The agreement on the Union State signed on December 18, 1999 between Russia and Belarus is going through a new stage of cooperation after the 2020 elections were held in Belarus. The West did not recognize it and imposed sanctions. This prompted the president of Belarus to embrace Russia. Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia, and Belarus signed a customs union agreement in 2010. In fact, this gave Russia the right to link these countries even closer to itself economically and legally. Russian companies can easily work in these countries and sell their goods, and Russia also determines all customs laws, duties and rules of the game. But here there is a contradiction with China and its One Belt, One Road project. It is not clear how the two countries will divide Central Asia. After the January rallies in Kazakhstan and the introduction of Russian soldiers into Kazakhstan to suppress protests, it becomes clear that Russia wants to turn Kazakhstan into its sphere of influence by force. Perhaps in the near future, we will see an agreement on a union state between Kazakhstan and Russia. The war in Karabakh in 2010 between Armenia and Azerbaijan made it clear to us that without Russia's help, Armenia will not be able to defend itself. And Putin played on this very competently. After this war, Armenia has no choice but to cooperate closely with Russia. Back in Soviet times, the Russian Federation planted a bomb in Central Asia when it was drawing its borders. By cleverly playing on these conflicts, Russia can play the role of mediator and peacemaker. And Russia can also scare these countries with terrorists from Afghanistan. Then they will move even faster towards Russia. Back in his time, Zbigniew Brzezinski said that Russia with Ukraine is an empire, and without Ukraine is just an ordinary state. Since independence, Ukraine and the Ukrainian people have been distinguished by bravery and the desire for freedom. There were popular uprisings and rallies in Ukraine. It was clear that the Ukrainian people wanted to see their future with Europe. But when President Yanukovych did not want rapprochement with Europe, Ukrainians rebelled and went to rallies. And at the cost of hundreds of lives, they managed to make a revolution and carry out democratic reforms. And since then, Ukraine has been getting closer to joining the European Union. Every year, Ukraine moves away from its Soviet past. There is a tectonic clash between Russia's hope to become an empire and recreate the USSR 2.0 and Ukraine's dream of freedom. And of course, Western countries support Ukraine. It is clear to the West that Ukraine is a very significant country, and if they surrender Ukraine, Taiwan may be the next and the whole liberal world order will collapse. Therefore, the West rallied and threatened Russia with terrible sanctions. After their introduction, the Russian economy may simply collapse. Today's global situation. After Joe Biden shut down oil production in his country, the price of oil quickly rose to $100 per barrel. And Western countries have begun to promote green technologies. And the unsuccessful exit of the Americans from Afghanistan and financial support from China pushed Putin to take decisive action. But whether Putin will take this step, whether it will capture Ukraine or not, no one knows but him. Even if it is resolved, Russia will face significant economic losses, and this may eventually lead to problems within the country. And China can take advantage of this moment when the West will cut all financial ties with Russia. China may also refuse to help him, and then Russia will have a very difficult time